All right, guys. So before we get into what we really have to discuss for tonight with our weekly performance talk, we just wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you very much to everybody who's reached out over the last couple of days. After us posting the news about Rocky, we just really appreciate it. We've had tons and tons of people text, call, send flowers, treats and shit for Rudy home with us or with Nicole and. We just really appreciate it, and we're very humbled. And the takeaway message being from us for those of you with pets, really, don't take it for granted, and appreciate everything that they can do and provide for you. But with that all being said, let's transition to weightlifting and kind of in a beginner or foundational fashion. Nicole will kind of be our subject matter expert for the evening on this, obviously. And I think the biggest thing that people have with the Olympic lifts is I think they look a little bit more imposing than they really are. And so it just kind of gives both coaches and just recreational, fitness enthusiasts a little bit of apprehension for inclusion. So with all that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll jump right in with that and kind of roll from there. A lot of things that I hear from people in the gym, when I say gym, I mean like traditional gyms, not Olympic weightlifting gyms, or, they see people doing the snatch or the clean and jerk and they're just super intimidated, or they're like, oh, my shoulders would pop out. And, I just simply can't get into that position. And the first thing I always ask them is, well, have you tried? A lot of times they look more intimidating than what they are, and people don't realize that there's a process and a method that we go through before we really even get into the full lifts themselves. There is a certain protocol that should be done before they're really even snatching or clean and jerking, and that goes down to simply making sure they can get into the positions. If your athletes can't front squat, they shouldn't be doing a clean. If you can't overhead squat, they shouldn't be doing a snatch. USAW does it this way, but East Coast Gold does it this way. And this is how I've been brought to teach and develop my athletes. So we go through and we break down every single position. So we're looking at the power position, or what we like to call the high block position. And then we look at above the knee, below the knee, and then working from the floor. And we build our athletes in proficiency from the top down. So that way, when they are ready to move from the floor up, they are familiar with all of the positions that they should be hitting it before they move into that pull and transition to go under the bar.
So I would say, it's not an intimidation factor. It shouldn't be an intimidation factor, but there should be an appreciation for the, complexity or sophistication of the Ollie movement. So, I think both myself and Jeremy are good examples of this, where we're really big on like adaptive ollies or Olympic derivatives, and just kind of manipulating them in little subtle ways, or sometimes in more gross or larger ways. But case in point, Jeremy, I think, I've probably stolen a lot from you on this, where you've just got a really unique way of pairing these two.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it just depends upon who I'm working with. When I was, for a short time, that strength coach, like, I wouldn't do floor work just because I had a lot of other injuries and shit to kind of worry about. So, like a lot of kind of athletic endeavors that isn't Ollie specific, I would just do hangs and for blocks or whatever like that. However, to your other point, yeah, I use Ollie kind of like those derivatives in rehab now. But then I'm still kind of apprehensive sometimes using it, because most of the times the people who I use the Ollie with, they're just keen on doing those lifts. So it kind of engages them just to even want to fucking do rehab. But then again, you have to be kind of smart about it. It still has to be very calculated. What I've stolen from you guys and like Tim, just a lot of the landmine kind of variation of an Ollie into a split stance. So, and even like not really catching it, where you would catch a regular snatch grip, but maybe catch it in a scaption, like a scapular plane. Just to, again, protect some stuff that's still going on. They might not be able to still get that end range. However, we're still kind of working that motor sequencing pattern. just to be literate in just feeling like they're explosive and feeling like they're fast. So any rope from that kind of stuff, we're kind of eliminating that. And so we can kind of, go into like maybe perhaps jumps, throws, upper body, kind of like plyos, etc. So tricking the mind, tricking the body, just to kind of do those kind of derivatives. I think it does well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've taken this is a good example, right? Like I looked at a dumbbell snatch or a kettlebell clean, which were the most common or unanimously approved ones. And I just could never come around to them. Like, I just don't like the movement. The dumbbell doesn't roll. It's a fixed structure. So it's not a really good torque on the shoulder. But then I started to play with a, single arm cross RDL into a clean pattern, and then adding like a lateral step up to it, which I took from you with the catching of the kettlebell in a clean action with a lateral lunge or a kind of a Cossack action. Right. And so like just the fluidity and the timing and the sequencing of all of that, and then taking again just the pure concepts of Ali and then applying it in a variety of ways is been useful for me. But to kind of get back to our main point though, if you look at like the common spectrum of 20 to 40-year-old recreational fitness enthusiast type, go-getter athlete, likes to train hard. What's the barrier, the breaking point between doing ollies and looking like a dumbass or potentially risking injury or, whatever, versus being able to not only safely, but then effectively put them into their training repertoire?
I mean, I don't know if this is kind of where you're thinking and where you're going, but I think the breaking point is getting a coach or asking somebody what help more than anything, because I mean, everybody's seen it in the gym. I've seen it in the gym, and a lot of times I'm not hesitant, but like I'm very selective with who I'm going to kind of approach as far as those things are concerned. I know that I know what I'm doing, but I also know that other people have coaches, and I certainly don't want to step on anybody's toes. And, they could be working on something else that, their coach has expressed to them. And so me jumping in and being like, oh, you should try this, throws everything off. But there are certain cases where I'll see some people lifting and I'm like, they're going to fucking hurt themselves. And then I will just give them enough information to where I feel like they can safely continue with whatever their workout might be, without, completely overstepping any boundary.
How do we kind of curve people away from just going through the run-of-the-mill CrossFit class to retain ollie lifts? Like, are you suggesting that they need to seek out USAW work? Are you saying that they need to, find a qualified coach in the area or whatever? Or are you saying that like taking the time to learn and apply for yourself via shit like this or, informational pieces online? Like how do you get to be pragmatic?
A coach, in all seriousness. There's a ton of online free information and it's great. Catalyst Athletics is a huge resource, and I direct a lot of my athletes to that website because Greg Everett has done a tremendous job in providing articles and videos and everything that you could imagine. But at the end of the day, having somebody with their eyes on you to be able to guide you through what you're doing and put that into perspective makes a huge difference, because these lifts are so technical and there's so many different things. You do need those people. And that's kind of the cool thing about, East Coast Gold and where we are in Virginia Beach being inside of CrossFit Rife. We get a lot of their athletes that'll come over for just that. We'll run them through our 6-week intro program that we put every lifter through. And it's a breakdown of all of the positions and the technique behind it. So it's not that you have to become an Olympic weightlifter and devote years and years of training to it, but just having, 6 weeks, a 4-day-a-week program to just hone in on some of those skills to allow yourself to then carry over to those CrossFit workouts makes a huge difference.
So getting a coach, yes. But then also getting a coach that is comfortable coaching it, not just like, I got my ESAW.
Yep.
I could coach now. Probably not. I mean, it's just like another person would say, like a CSCS. Okay, technically, I'm a certified strength coach, but then any asshat could just read the essentials book and then be a strength coach. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, and like I mean, to your point with a coach, it's like, again, like what's their training background? Do they even train those lifts? Did they just get USAD just to get more letters after their name? So I think just, you know, doing shit like this, again, like, you know, directing them to good resources that they could get the ball rolling on like technique. And then even just simply watching your favorite lifter that has the same anthropometrics as you.
Mhm.
I'm only training one dude that's Ollie specific that had, you know, he looks like me. So I'm pretty biased to like the Chinese weightlifting kind of like methodologies. But again, I mean, you have more experience than I do. So you would have like other kind of methodologies you'd want to kind of probably incorporate. But,
Sure.
you know, I think it's probably the same thing in terms of like how it should look in the catch. Your torso is not super forward and your arms aren't like hella back behind you, like stuff like that. But and you know, to get more intricate here too, it's you have to get a coach. And again, I heard Louis Simmons say this a long time ago. You got to be really good at entering and exiting each phase of the lift. So that's kind of how I teach that. I mean, I view myself when I think of all these stuff as just a generalist. Like I could get you to looking decent, but then once you're done with me, I'm going to pass you along to someone else that has more of that fine tune that's been more sport. So again, just being very mindful of that, being honest with yourself as a coach. If you know, they want to ollie more, and then you know you can't really get them to that, I guess, more elite level to the next level to the next level. Like, don't be scared to pass them off to someone else because you might be doing them a disservice when they want specifically ollie and they're not just like a sport athlete. So
Yeah.
I would agree, especially, you know, based on the athlete's goals.
To kind of bring that all into a summary point here, I've just always found it kind of funny how like we've just so willingly and openly embraced powerlifting, but there's a literal infinite debate on ollie for athletes. That's mind blowing to me. But you know, I think it again, like in terms of the injury factor and the risk analysis and whatnot, I don't know. I take a little bit more of a mild tone than you two, I guess, but I just think that it's a great training application. I think it's a great training mode. For me personally, it's by far my favorite method or application of training. And I think it's good for people from all walks to at least have, you know, the derivatives or the adaptive ollies in their programming, because it's just good for you to move fast under load. No matter who you are or what you do, relative to you and your strength, moving fast under load is important, and it's widely missed. And it's because people either think they look goofy or they don't feel safe, or, you know, whatever, they don't have the technical skills to do so. So I think we can all agree in just saying, you know, it's important, do your homework, find the resources you need, and you know, make it a part of what you do.
Yeah. And we didn't even get to really touch on like the neurological side of it, but I'd even say that that's something, you know, that's needed as well,
100%.
regardless of age, of sport. That's creating a lot of stimulus that you're not going to get from other movements and other main lifts and things like that.
And final point here, because we're running out of time, I'm always sure to mention this. As people get older, you start to convert type 2 or fast twitch fibers over to type 1s or aerobic, right? And to preserve longevity, it's very biologically makes a ton of sense. But what do people naturally do? Gravitate all the way over to the aerobic side of training. That's not the way to go. Your body's already going that direction. You need to complement it with the opposition, or in this case being, you know, more high force, high speed, dynamic type of actions. Again, relativity is the key. Pounds on the bar doesn't, or kilos on the bar doesn't matter. You know, it's just how it applies for you. But that's a wrap.